Hello, this is David Fugel, Life Sherpa, coming today with a very special guest, someone that I love dearly. Um, I'm here with Natasha. Hi, Natasha.
Hi, David. How are you?
Well, we're all swimming as fast as we can, aren't we? Paddling as fast as we can.
We totally are.
Yeah. And so my intention with this series that I put together is to kind of take in real people, and you certainly are a real person, with different lifestyles and challenges as we cope with COVID. And today I just wanted to start off with maybe you telling us a little bit about your situation, some of the stresses, and then we'll get into kind of measuring all of that.
Okay. So I live in a household with my husband, my two kids who are 11 and 13. And then just recently, we moved my parents in with us. So we have three generations in our house, and my mom is in her mid 60s. My father's in his mid 70s. But my father had a spinal cord injury 2 years ago and is in a wheelchair now. So he's got some health issues, and we've got an aide who's in the house with us about 50 hours a week as well. So there are 7 of us in this house right now. We are trying to work from home. We are trying to take care of everyone. We're doing distance learning with the kids at school. So it's a little bit crazy right now, and it feels like there's a lot going on, but then it also feels like the days are very long, and there isn't enough going on at the same time. I'm just trying to balance making sure that everyone is taken care of, that everyone stays healthy. And I think I'm also very while I am probably internalizing a lot of my stress right now, because I also don't want the kids to be afraid. And so that's something that I always sort of keep in the back of my head as well, is to stay upbeat, to stay, pretty happy and cheerful in front of the kids. But I mean, ultimately, it's a range of emotions that I'm feeling throughout the day. But my biggest stress right now is making sure that my parents, and specifically my dad, stays healthy.
Mm-hmm. It's all on you, right?
Because it's on all of us, but maybe I feel more of the pressure. I put the pressure on myself, that I have to make sure that everybody is okay.
So this is all about the feel, not the reality of the situation.
Yeah. Okay. So if we're feeling it, then I'm feeling like it's all on me. Yes.
Absolutely. And we do that to ourselves, don't we? So we're so good at it. And you specifically, and that's one of the reasons I'm so thankful for you to come on. And I know that this can feel vulnerable as well, and I honor that. But I think it's important. One of the key components to self-compassion, for people to honor self-compassion, is to know that they are not alone, that this is a common humanity. That so what people might hear you say may be just this amazing self-compassionate moment for them. And I want you to feel, God willing, that the self-compassion that you deserve, because I know you are the most rosy, blue sky person I have ever met. Yes.
Yeah,
and,
I try.
You come from Seattle, where there is no cynicism and.
I know about that.
You're in New Jersey. We've broken you.
You've broken me. My parents often say, "What happened to that nice girl who we raised in Seattle?" And I'm a little tougher now, having lived in Jersey for so long.
Girl, as Jeanette would say, you're a Jersey girl.
I know, exactly.
So thank you for sharing that. And I can only imagine, and even if people that are in that situation are listening, they might even feel a little bit triggered. So today I'm going to use a tool, even though we've talked about in series, I've talked about other tools for college students. And I think you watched the last video with my 10 suggestions. Let me just go to that for a moment. We'll just jump on that. I'm going to share screen. And we'll go to those 10 things to cope.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, they're down here somewhere. Okay, here we go. How do we hack the system? Breathing, movement, social engagement, being in nature, humming,
Mm-hmm.
singing, listening to music, voicing gratitude, grounding and centering exercises such as meditation, prayer, visualization, sleep, exclamation point, humor, laughter, and then connecting with your body and spirit, and honoring when you need to say no, or what you want to say no about, and what you want to say yes about. So out of those things, and again, I don't say that that's everything, but that's just 10 things I'm putting out there. What is your family's self-care like right now? And
Yeah.
what is your self-care feeling, the pressure of it all?
Yeah, so I think we are doing a lot of those things. So we're trying to take walks. We're playing basketball in the yard. We are. I've been doing this like dance workout on Instagram. I don't know if you've heard of this thing Ryan Heffington is doing. It's like
Oh,
5 times a week and it's live, and he's like I think he owns a dance studio in LA, and he does these like Instagram lives where it's great music and it's like a dance workout basically, but it's with thousands of people and it's really
cool.
great. And so it's been sort of my way to dance and get some physical activity, some
And
exercise.
that's great.
But
What's his name?
Ryan Heffington.
Okay, cool. Shout
Yeah,
out to him.
I'll send you.
Thank you.
I'll send you his Instagram. But yeah, it's been for me. That's been great. My husband goes on the treadmill when I do that sometimes, and like we're watching movies as a family. We've just gotten through Schitt's Creek, so we're trying to do some of the comedy and
There you go.
watching things that are a little bit more fun. I've been trying to turn off the news,
Mm-hmm.
especially before going to bed, because I'm finding that I do have a hard time sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been taking some CBD to help me sleep, and sometimes that helps really well, and then other times it still doesn't really give me like a good night's sleep. But that's sort of when my mind races the most, is in the middle of the night. So like on that list of the 10 things, like there are a bunch that we're trying to do as a family. Like my parents are praying a lot. I'm praying a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I think like inside of the house, it's a pretty like happy vibe, and the kids are doing great, and they do their school in the morning, and sometimes that's a little stressful. But then they sort of move on and they FaceTime with their friends, and they're doing video games, and I've sort of like given up on a lot of the rules as it pertains to technology and stuff.
Right.
We do go outside, especially if if it's not raining or something. I force them outside, and actually they're anxious to go outside too, to just
I'm
get some
sure.
fresh air. And we go on walks, and yeah.
Great, great. And you had mentioned earlier
Mhm.
the news and how it all affects, and kind of wanting to shield the kids.
Yeah, yeah. So I do feel like it's something that I always sort of am cognizant of, and I try really hard. My youngest son has some anxiety. I say he's just, like, unfortunately, I gave him like my worst qualities, where we feel everything like deeply. Our highs are highs and our lows are really low, and he has
Yes, so
some
because you're
anxiety.
both highly sensitive people,
Highly sensitive. You
just
always
like
tell
me.
me that. Yeah, you always tell me that. So, for him, I feel like he vibes off of our energy in a
Sure.
pretty significant way. So I try in front of the kids to be very upbeat, and honestly, they really do help you forget about what's
Yeah.
going on too. So it isn't that it's so hard to be upbeat in front of them, but I try not to watch the news with them, or to really talk about things that are super sad or down, or to talk about the numbers and how bad this is going to be and stuff like that. So we keep it pretty upbeat, and So I think because we're good in front of them, they don't really seem to be panicking so
That's great.
much.
That's great.
And I talked to them about it, and I asked them about it too, and they don't really seem very stressed out about it. I think they realize how serious it is. I think they realize they're likely not going to go back to school this year. But they're not really upset about it. They seem to just sort of be going through their days.
Yeah, and you know, just to, and again, everyone listening, I'm going to do try to find a mom or dad that have younger children. Your kids
Yeah.
are, you know, really can be independent, and
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
really, especially with the school. What do you call it again? The schooling at home?
It's like distance learning.
Distance learning. Woohoo! I love that. All right, so
Yeah,
distance
yeah,
learning.
yeah.
Another
Distance
one for David.
learning.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you know, that may be a little more independent from you. Because
Definitely.
I'm hearing the stress of moms that are home working,
Oh my gosh.
having to distance learn with younger kids, and that's,
Yeah.
you know, trying to juggle both with high expectations. So
I
we'll
mean,
address.
by the end of the school year, I'm going to be, I think, fluent in Spanish. And at this point, I can tell you how to calculate the volume of a cylinder using pi. Like, there are things that I have to reteach myself to be able to help them a little bit with homework. But my brother and my sister-in-law have a 4 and a 2-year-old, and I don't even know how they get through the day because they have to constantly keep them entertained. And they're trying to do their jobs and also take care of my niece and nephew. And it's like this constant art projects or going outside to the backyard. I mean, it's constant. And so I really bow down to parents who have younger children who are trying to manage all of this because you're right, my kids are pretty independent. And so for the most part, they're able to get through schooling on their own. They don't want me hanging around when they're on their video games. So, you know,
Yeah.
I don't have to keep them entertained all day for
Right.
sure.
So maybe I may be reaching out to your.
Yeah, you should.
To see if I can get them on. And again, the objective here is what you're saying. Everyone in similar situations is feeling. You're
Yeah.
not alone, and it's so great to borrow benefits. So what we're talking about today, and in fact, the tool that we're going to go to today is tapping. And so what we're going to do is kind of take you through this process, knowing the benefits that it has, especially at this given time. The statistic, the numbers of the most recent studies done show that it lowers cortisol levels. 1 week of tapping and meditation lower cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone, puts us into fight or flight, and really creates inflammation and disease in our bodies. 33% reductions, which is phenomenal in a week. It also raises immunoglobulins, which are there to help build up our immune system, like 75%. Amazing numbers after 1 week. So my point is, why not do this for ourselves? We have nothing to lose, and we have a lot of time on our hands to do self-care. So in addition to those things that are listed, and I think tapping is in there, but I wanted to do a demonstration. And I know you're familiar with it, Natasha. I'm going to share screen again, and we're going to do our check-in.
Okay.
And so this is kind of where life is, right? We go down as low as fear, grief, despair, powerlessness, and we can go to the heights of joy, appreciation, empowerment, freedom, and love. So that's, I say, what we have to be mindful of is that we want to be on an upward spiral.
Sure.
And when we find ourselves in a downward spiral, number one, we need to be aware. And then once we're aware, we need to know what is possible to move that mindset into a shift, into a reframing. And so my being, has been fluctuating between worry, midpoint is frustration, and my height has been hopefulness. As I have been talking to people, seeing the results of, you know, the self-care that they're doing, and watching transformations, it's that whole range. I would say the worry comes from not being in control,
Sure.
and that frustrates. But then when I focus on what I am in control of, things tend to shift. The frustration and irritation, I just need to wait right now for a lot of things to come to fruition, as we
Yeah.
do, natural. But I don't want to. I don't want to languish. And again, when I see evidence, I want to go to hopefulness. And don't forget, we're all looking for evidence that supports whatever biases we're coming in with. If we're doomsday biased, we're going to read the paper, listen to the news, and look for and
Sure.
find very negative things. If we're of a hopeful persuasion, our bias is to to look for blue skies.
Mhm.
We will find that. That's that's the way the brain works. So
Yeah.
how have your days been?
So I think I vacillate between worry for sure and frustration, but the frustration I think is really maybe about like, well, how long is this all going to be?
Right.
Like, I think like worry, how long am I going to be worried for? You know, like
Right.
that's what I'm worried about. And also just the numbers are so like, I just, the idea of so many people being sick is just devastating, and
Sure.
it's really sad and scary. And but also I think that I spend a lot of my day actually being kind of blown away by like the good in people, and so like maybe that's probably like the best part of watching the news, is that they always sort of show you something like really incredible about young people helping their elderly neighbors, or birthdays, kids who have birthdays, and all of the neighbors go around the neighborhood with signs in their cars and honking the horn, like little things like that I think are so beautiful.
Yes.
And then I think I have like so much gratitude as well, that like at least within my small like bubble, everyone is still healthy. And I worry, but I'm also hopeful that it'll continue to be that same way. So I definitely have fear and some, I guess, impatience and frustration. But there's also like, I think, a lot of hopefulness and gratitude as well.
Right. So in that check-in, um, again, we know in our hearts how much time we're spending in all of these different things, and
Yeah.
trust your body to communicate. Like if you're feeling contracted and guarded, then that's a state of uh, contraction and fear. If you're feeling more expansive, then there's more of that hope and positivity and things like that. So if I remember watching a video of Baby Shark in Spain. I don't know if you saw that one.
No.
I wept with joy for these police officers doing Baby Shark over the
Oh.
phone. It was so beautiful and
Yeah, I mean, there's some really like there
beautiful.
are these sort of moments in our history really
Yeah,
show the beauty of humanity as
yeah,
well. So, it's sort of like you got to take like the bitter with the sweet sometimes,
yeah.
or the sad with the joy.
And the contrast is an opportunity for us to actually amplify the goodness. And so, that's I felt myself exhale. And in that exhale, my whole being started to be more hopeful, be more, and I haven't lost that since. So I'm so grateful for that moment of release. And that's with me doing all of this self-care for myself and
Mm-hmm.
with my clients. So I again encourage everyone to be in that place of self-care, self-compassion. So what we're going to do now is go back to full screen.
Okay.
Um, we kind of know where we are. And what I'm going to do is ask you to just tune in to your body and your spirit, and let's go to the lower of that spectrum, which is the worry.
Okay.
And that and what I'm reading, and I've heard you say, it's you're feeling guarded, you're feeling protective,
Mm.
and that's a different, that's a state of anxiety almost, right? angst.
Yeah. I
Like,
do have, yeah, I have angst
right,
for sure. I
right,
want to make sure that everyone is safe and
right,
healthy. And
right.
we had spoken earlier that, almost 2 weeks ago, tomorrow will be 2 weeks, is that, we found out that my father's therapist, one of his therapists, tested positive, and so we had been exposed. So the last 2 weeks I felt an enormous amount of angst, just like, oh my god, like, it was, someone was in our home, working with my dad, and he is so high risk, and how did I allow this to happen? And
Yeah,
was I irresponsible to allow this medical professional into my home, even though they were taking the right precautions? And now all of us have been exposed. And so the last 2 weeks, there's been a lot of angst, and it's subsided as each day has sort of
mhm,
gone by, because
mhm.
we're almost at that 2 week mark. And thank God, like knock wood, we've had no symptoms, any of us in the household. But there was an enormous amount of fear. And now I'm almost at this point where, okay, we've gotten to 14 days, but now I'm afraid to leave the house because I feel like we're all safe and cozy in our bubble.
Yeah.
And, I need to go to the grocery store, but I'm afraid to go and expose myself to anyone or anything, because like I know inside of our home we're still safe, and healthy.
Exactly.
So there is for sure angst and fear, for
Where,
sure.
if you tune into your body right now, where do you
Yeah.
feel that fear, that angst, that worry? Where would that be?
I feel it sort of in my chest. Like
Okay.
I feel like it bubbles up a little, like almost to like into my throat, where I feel like that sort of knot where, you feel like you're almost going to start to cry.
Right.
And then I sort of swallow it back down and
Yeah.
I move on with my life. But I do feel it in my chest for
Right.
sure.
So,
Which isn't good because of the symptoms of corona. So then I'm like, wait,
right.
is my chest high because something's happening, or is it because of my angst and my anxiety?
But we're
So,
gonna try to clear it
okay.
all right
All
now.
right, great.
And to your point, that's what we do. We shove it back down.
Yeah.
We shove it back down. But this, again, this could be anger, frustration, jealousy, whatever it is. But today we're talking about, the coping with COVID, and
Yeah.
and to your point, the only way to function is to just sort of ignore it and shove it back down and get
Yeah.
on with getting on. And I'm saying, let's take, part of self-care is taking a moment, do an inventory of what it is. This is the
Mhm.
self-awareness part. And then we're going to now speak our truth. And once we get through that end of it, we're going to try to create a shift in our mindset, right? And everyone's going to witness this all, and you're going to experience it, because that's what tapping is.
Mhm.
Shoving it back down and worry and everything else in your chest and your throat. We need to do a studs level, subjective unit test. You love this one, I know. So if you're feeling like you're almost going to cry, I don't even have to ask the number, but how high do you think that number is? 10 meaning max, 0 meaning don't feel anything.
Like at the height of it, when we first found out that we had been
Yeah.
exposed, I would say it was like 8 or a 9. Like
Okay.
I felt a lot of anxiety. I was
And
very fearful.
what about, I have to go shopping tomorrow and I don't know how to keep my family safe.
Yeah, maybe like
How
a
high is
6
that?
or a 7, a 6 or
Okay,
7.
cool.
I mean, I feel it. I feel it, but it isn't like I'm not paralyzed by it, but I definitely am worried. Yes,
Okay,
I
so
feel it.
6 or 7. Again, not as high as 9 or 10. And again, I apologize. I didn't come to you when you were at
No,
that.
don't be. Stop it. Stop
But
it.
but 6 or 7 ain't a walk in the park.
Yeah, no, it's not
Right?
nothing for sure.
So
I feel it.
let's get through that and release it. The other thing is, I want everybody to remember, when we go into fight or flight, cortisol, stress, blah 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 blah, blood is rushing from our brains to our extremities so we could fight or run. Right? What does that create? It creates a fog. It creates confusion. It creates paralysis in thinking clearly. So what we're really after is clarity. And so maybe after this is done, you'll have, clearer
Mhm.
ideas or inspirations. And that's all we're looking for. Just to, how do you protect your family? Not when you're in the height of fear, because then you're making emotional decisions, right? And we really want these to be grounded decisions and things like that. So, and again, there's nothing wrong with the process. It's the biology of the brain.
Yeah.
Let's just hack it and let's just get in and do what we can do to support ourselves. Okay.